Everybody, welcome to the sixth episode of the Illuminutty podcast. I got a good show for you today, or at least I hope so. But before we get into my main topic, I'm going to touch on some things that are going on in recruiting. You guys know how much I love that, and that's always going to be in the forefront of my channel, so I'm going to touch on some things for you. We made top school list for several prospects this week. One being Rashad Streets, the teammate of Quentin Cipher out of Raleigh, North Carolina, Millbrook High School. He's 6'4", 230, and his stats look like a full season of NFL stat sheets. He's a stat stuffer. He's a outside linebacker, edge guy. I'm so high on this guy. Like, he does everything well. He plays with his hair on fire. He's tremendous speed off the edge. I mean, I think if we can land him and put him with a guy like DJ Jacobs, I think it's gonna be a monstrous D-line class this year. I'm very high on a lot of guys that we've offered, but I've talked to Vader, and I think that we got a really good shot at landing Rashad, and Quentin Cipher for sure is helping with that because he's a tremendous peer recruiter, and I know for a fact that he's been in his ear for a while now, trying to get him to come to Columbus. Other schools that he's considering are Alabama, Oregon, NC State, Florida State, and he's just a tremendous player. And like I said, if we can pair him with a guy like DJ Jacobs, I think we can take our defensive and class to a whole new level. There's other guys I know that we're considering and high level guys, but I'm really high on Streets. I think he's so impressive. I mean, you got guys like Chris Whitehead out of Lloyd C. Bird High School and Malik Muhammad that we recently offered, and those guys are still in consideration. And I think this DN class will probably be bigger than what we brought in past years because we're gonna have to restack that room, especially with losing a lot of veteran voices. So I think we will bring in a bigger, especially for defensive ends and like guys that could do both defensive end and tackle, like Malik Muhammad and guys like that. So I fully expect us to bring in a bigger DN class and bring in guys from the transfer portal next year, just because we are so young when Kenyatta leaves. Now, we got guys like Zion, Grady, and Effie who will hopefully be coming into their own and building on their reputation and rotating in more, but we're just going to need more guys to fill that room. And I know that the transfer portal has changed things, but the high quality guys that we're offering, both in the 27 and 28 classes, makes me think that, we're still going to lean on high school recruiting for high level guys, unless you get like you can't miss prospects that into the transfer portal for lack of a better example, say like a Dylan Stewart type guy. If you know, if a guy like that enters a portal, sure, I'm sure we'll jump on it. But the high level guys that we're recruiting and the early evaluations we're seeing on guys and early offers that we're seeing go out make me think that we're still gonna prioritize high school recruiting in that room. At least that's what I get from seeing the offer list go out and talking to Vader and things like that. What are your thoughts, Podfather?
So, as far as the recruit who's teammates to Quentin Cipher, yes, please sign me up for that. I love Quentin Cipher. By the way, he is one of my favorite recruits in this class at any position, regardless of star rating or any of that. I think he is a fantastic linebacker, and so glad that James Laurinaitis got him. So to get a teammate of his who could possibly be a really good defensive end to go along with the 5-star number one recruit in the class who we already have, plus the number one wide receiver 5 stars who's in this class. This is shaping up, Mika, to be a epic recruiting haul
Yeah,
for Ohio State.
I really do think that we're in for something special this class. I know, I say that every year, but every year it's true. We do bring in guys that are special, but this is something else, and I think building through peer recruiting helps, and I think um, James Laurinaitis has
Is
really
really
take taken his recruiting to a new level and really come into his own more. Not that he was a slouch by any means. I mean, goodness gracious, look what he brought in with Riley Pettijohn and all those guys. Like, but he's really, you really seen him come in to his own, and I think it shows. And recruits are responding to him. And of course, you still got Larry the Legend and Ryan Day. I mean, things are just, I know transfer portal has changed things, but it just makes me feel good about, we're still going to put an emphasis on bringing in high level high school guys. And for someone that covers recruiting, not only does that provide me with, job security, it just warms my heart because I love seeing these young guys get a chance to, you know, come to a place like Ohio State and build and become young men and get a chance to get to know them a little more and get to know their backstories and, you know, see their dreams kind of unfold. Like, for a fan, that's a big part of my fandom. I love seeing that happen for kids that, you know, work really hard to get to these levels and get into college. And even if they don't make it to the NFL, at least they get a high level education out of it. So, yeah, it's tremendous to see that we're still prioritizing recruiting and that we're making inroads for such high level guys, especially on the defensive line and stuff, because everyone knows how big I am on defensive linemen, edge guys,
as his
especially. So it always gets me excited. Another guy that we made uh, top schools for is the linebacker athlete Jaden Nelson. He's 6'3", 210, uh, Langham Creek, Texas. He's unranked,
ranked
and
in
for those of you that haven't checked out our recruiting database yet, we were on him first before any other site had him. And I think he's special. He went from 0 offers to 21 or 22 offers within the last 2-3 weeks. So that
That
tells
tells
you
you.
how special he is. He's a tremendous recruit, very speedy, very agile. He wreaks havoc in the backfield, plays multiple positions, extremely athletic, and like I said, we made uh, his top three schools, and he does
Does
play
play
and are
and
making a multi-day visit. Sorry, my audio's acting weird. I don't know what's going on.
It's
I'm
okay. It's fine.
I'm getting a weird echo. I don't know what it is. But yeah, he plans on making a multi-day visit sometime. So I'm really excited about him. I think he's got tremendous upside, and I love how we jumped on him before we even had a ranking. Guys, if you haven't checked out a recruiting database yet, please do so. We put a lot of work into that, and it's every day we're updating. We're constantly getting information. Even guys that we haven't offered yet, we're evaluating. Like in-state guys, there's some guys that the big um recruiting sites and stuff haven't even started talking about yet. So not to pat ourselves on the back, but it's impressive if I do say so myself. Like I'm allowed to toot my own horn a little bit, alright? It's my show. I think I'm allowed to do that. But yeah, I I think it's really impressive the guys that have trimmed their list down for us. Another guy that did so was Talon uh Mayo, versatile defensive back. He's uh 6'5", 185. He's tremendous. I know that a lot of people think that once you get to a certain height, you're not going to be able to play defensive back anymore. But I've evaluated a lot of guys recently that are 6'3", 6'4", 6'5" plus that have the athleticism to stay in the secondary. And I'm wondering if it's more of a fluke thing, a trend, or if it's just speaks to the evolution of the athlete in the secondary uh, position at a whole, and what Ohio State is looking for in that position. What are your thoughts, Podfather?
That is a really interesting topic to say the least, because as wide receivers get taller and longer and more athletic and able to catch the football one-handed with one foot down in the back of the corner of the end zone, and it really becomes a weapon for you on the sidelines. Defensively, you used to have to, or you used to use the sideline as an extra defender, and now offenses have gotten so good at that 15-yard out route, where and back shoulder fade routes and things of that nature, that wide receivers have become so good at just being able to keep one foot in and kind of actually use the sideline as a shield now,
Yeah,
as a weapon. And so, how you combat that, I think, is you try to go out and you get longer, more athletic, taller cornerbacks now as well, because that's the one thing that kind of can level the playing field when you have a big, tall, strong wide receiver like a Marvin Harrison Jr. or a Jeremiah Smith or a Carnell Tate, who knows how to use their body, contort their body in such a way to use the sideline to their advantage. So that's a
and,
really good point, Mika.
and guys, if for any of you that don't remember, Marvin Harrison excelled at using the using the sideline as like a shield to help him make tremendous catches. So as you see these guys uh get longer, I think it speaks to the evolution of what programs like Ohio State are seeing in receivers and in the secondary, how they're trying to combat guys like Chris Henry Jr. I mean, for goodness sakes, Chris Henry Jr. is every bit of 6'5", if not 6'6". I mean, you almost have to bring in guys that are 6'3", 6'4", 6'5" plus to be able to compete with with guys like
Guys like that.
it's just it's just the way the position itself is evolving, and I've noticed when evaluating these kids that a lot I've seen a trend of these secondary guys getting bigger. Even on like the safety spot, you're seeing like 6'2", 6'3", 6'4" safeties getting evaluated, and they're not
They're not
slouches either when it comes to athleticism. Like, these guys are
slouches.
long, they're
They're
fast,
fast.
uh, they can play multiple positions in the secondary, and I just think it's impressive that we're jumping in early on some of these guys and throwing our hat in the ring. Because years ago, you never heard of a 6'4", 6'5" guy sticking at corner or safety or anything like that. Usually, if you were that tall
Tall
and
and
playing in the
something.
secondary, pretty much everybody just assumed you were going to move down to linebacker or defensive end, and that's just not the case anymore. And it's a trend that I've been noticing, so I wanted to kind of touch on it. I might do a deeper dive
Even
into it as we go to offer more guys. Yeah, but it's just a trend that I've seen, guys that we've um shown interest in, and guys that we've offered at the corner and safety positions are just getting longer. And like you said, I think that's due to combat the longer receivers that you've been seeing. Like I said, you got guys like Chris Henry Jr. that are every bit of 6'5", 6'6". So you gotta almost recruit guys that are longer to compete with that. And it's an interesting trend. I
I
like
like
paying
paying
attention
attention.
to stuff like that because you I like going back and comparing previous classes and seeing how positions and stuff in football have evolved over the years. I'm just a nerd basically is what I'm telling you. I'm a football nerd. I pay attention to all kinds of crazy stuff. I wear tinfoil hats all the time, and it's just fun to me. I'm just a nerd. So, yeah. But to get to my main topic of the video today, um, Mel Kiper did his top 25 ranking of the draft prospects 2 days ago, and I found it interesting. Kid hazard a guess as to um, how far down you gotta get on the list before you reach an SEC player, Podfather?
I'll say number since we're talking about it. Obviously, it's pretty far down, so I'll say number 8.
Nope, 13.
What? No way.
Yep, 13. Uh, and that just goes to show how the tide is changing. A majority of this list was loaded with Big Ten players and Big Ten prospects. I think we had um, 7 of the top guys, Ohio State guys, and guys from Oregon and Penn State and things like that. And no wonder the SEC is having a meltdown. You can see it reflected in the draft. Like, and I just think it's interesting to see how the tables have turned and see guys like um, Mel Kiper and uh, the draft guys acknowledge it, and Dane Brugler and stuff. Dane Brugler's even higher on Big Ten prospects than Mel Kiper is. Like, it's just tremendous, and I love seeing the evolution of it all. Like, the level playing field, you could have whatever feeling you want about NIL and stuff, but you have to, anybody has to admit that it has leveled the playing field. So there has been good things about it. Now I wish that there were rules like everyone else, but it has tremendously leveled the playing field, and I love it. And you're seeing that reflected in draft analysis and stuff, especially when it comes to like um just Midwest schools in general getting love, not just Ohio State, but like um, Notre Dame and Indiana, and um, heck, you even had some um, Oregon and USC, Washington guys. Now I know those were former Pac-12 schools, but they're not anymore, so it still counts. It still counts, so they can't say it doesn't. And it just, I love seeing SEC fanboys have a meltdown because of it, because it was all over social media last night. How you know how dare Mel Kiper not have more SEC guys on his list and everything, and I just thought it was funny. What are your thoughts, Podfather?
I'm shocked. I, I'm legitimately shocked that, and I just pulled up his list, and you're right. No one from the SEC is in the top 10. You have an Auburn player currently at number 11. So maybe he's changed it slightly since you saw it where he was at 13, but still, um, I this is definitely going to be a Big Ten heavy first round of the NFL draft. Now, there was I forget exactly who said it, but I saw someone say that um, they thought the SEC was still better than the Big Ten because the SEC will have more NFL draft picks than any other conference, which says that NFL executives still want to get the best talent. So the SEC has better mid level and lower tier teams than the Big Ten because they just have more players drafted, and that's their proof for it. And I thought, well, okay, that's actually a legitimate, interesting take. But if you look at Mel Kiper's big board in the first round, my gosh, the tide has definitely turned here.
I know, and I was just so tickled by it. Like, it just, could you imagine 10 years ago looking at a draft board and it being the same? That's unheard of. Like, 10 years ago, I mean, you'd have some Ohio State guys, maybe some high level Penn State guys, maybe some Michigan guys, maybe Oregon guys here or there, but predominantly it would be SEC. It would have an SEC lean to it, and that's just not the case anymore. And I just think it's great, and I love every bit of it. And I had to touch on it today because as I was doing research for this video, I just came across that list, and I had to throw it in here because it, like I said, it excites me, and I think it speaks to the level of a development that's happening in the Midwest as well, with 7-on-7 and NIL in Ohio and other Midwest schools becoming legal in high school recruiting, and guys just getting bigger, stronger, faster, and the versatility of like the athlete, like I said, to go back to my defensive back point, how they're getting bigger and stronger, and you're seeing that position evolve, and a lot of Midwest guys changing their bodies and like dedicating to their development, and like I said, 7-on-7 and stuff, and how that's changed the changed the development of Midwest uh, prospects and guys out of Midwest schools. And I love it, and I think it's a trend that's going to continue, and it's just fun to see SEC fanboys and commentators have meltdowns and poke fun at guys like Paul Feinbaum and things like that for like saying, it's almost like how dare Mel Kiper not have more SEC guys on his board, when why would you have him on your board when that's not where the talent is anymore, and it just shows you how the tables have turned.
Yeah. Um, Obviously, NIL, the transfer portal, like you said, has a lot to do with this. But one of the things that I don't think it's mentioned enough is the level of coaching at the Big Ten
Yeah,
compared to the SEC. Look at how the SEC drooled and basically all tripped all over themselves when it came to Lane Kiffin.
yep.
Where's Lane Kiffin rank inside the Big Ten? Would he be considered an upper echelon coach? Is he Dan Lanning level, maybe?
I'd have
Uh,
him behind Dan Lanning personally.
I do as well. I think Dan Lanning's actually had more postseason success. Um, you would have to think that the head coach there at Alabama, DeBoer, has been a disappointment.
Yeah,
Outside of Kirby Smart at Georgia, there's a lot of, and like I said, outside of Kirby Smart at Georgia, there's everybody, all the other head coaches in the SEC are behind Ryan Day, Kurt Signetti, um, Dan Lanning, those
and don't
three.
forget. And don't forget, I think Matt Campbell is going to be tremendous for Penn State. I mean, we still got to wait and see, but I think he's going to be tremendous.
I'm not as high on that one as you are, but Mika, we'll see. I think the jury's out. We'll see what he can do at Penn State, but right now I look at Penn State and just think it's Iowa State, and they changed their colors and locations. Kind of what I feel
Yeah.
like, but
I
we'll,
just
we'll
think
see.
I look at it and say, when Penn State had their most success, it was when they could take advantage of um the guys that the second tier Ohio guys and stuff, and I think Matt Campbell will make a difference. They're bringing in those type of guys that don't quite get to the Ohio State level, but still have enough talent and a chip on their shoulder, and I think he can take advantage of that with his connections and stuff. I mean, he did it when he was at Iowa State, and I think it's going to translate really well to Penn State.
I
So,
agree with you when it comes to the second level, second tier athlete, especially in Ohio, especially in Northeast Ohio. But that being said, he has to take care of the talent that's in his own state, which he has failed to do in one of the nation's best offensive linemen in the 2027 class, Maxwell
yeah,
Hiller. So
I'm really high on that kid too, and I like where we stand with him. Um, don't want to jump the gun on him at all, but I really do. I like where we stand with him, and I think like similar to what I said about the defensive line class, I think this offensive line class is really gonna surprise us this year, and I think it's gonna be due in no small part to Arthur Smith. I think he's really gonna help with help Tyler Bowen and them get the offensive line right, and I think if the offensive line and the defensive line are gonna be as good as I expect they're gonna be, like we're in for a really special season. I mean, I don't know, maybe it's just me fangirling, but I just get a good vibe about it. Like I think uh Julian Sands got a fire under his butt to uh get in the weight room and start running a little more and open things up that way. And like I said, I think things in the trenches are gonna get sorted out, and I think we're in for a really special season. And like I said, I love seeing SEC fans and commentators have meltdowns about the growing football prowess of the Midwest that we're seeing lately and the development we're seeing in Midwest prospects and guys from Midwest schools and the influx of in and out of state guys that are considering staying home or going abroad and committing to Midwest schools like Ohio State, Penn State, Notre Dame. Shout out Jeremiah Love for being ranked the best running back on MEL KIPER'S list there. I'm not a big Notre Dame person, but Jeremiah Love is a tremendous back, and he deserves his flowers.
Yeah,
So I'm
he's by far the best running. He was by far the best running back in college football last year. I definitely felt like he was a Heisman finalist, and I'm not so sure I wouldn't have voted for him if I would have had to vote, to be completely honest with you. But that being said, um, uh, what's really interesting is where Mel Kiper has Caleb Downs penciled in at. Did you see that?
last I checked, I believe he was at 6.
Okay, so according to the ESPN one that I have, he's got Spencer Fano, the offensive tackle from Utah, going to Cleveland at 6, and he's got Caleb Downs, Mika, sliding down to 10th, the Cincinnati Bengals.
Yay! That I will cry tears of joy. I'm not even exaggerating. I
Hey,
will.
if
I
if the
will.
Bengals get Caleb Downs, Mika, I'm all back in on being a Bengals fan. How about that?
I am. I will pre-order my jersey. So help me, I will do it.
Yeah. So that would make my day. That would make my night. That would make my night.
Uh, did you want to tell them about the aviators thing?
Sure. Yeah. So over on our website, theohiopodcast.com, we are starting to cover the Columbus Aviators, writing articles covering them. We're going to be starting a YouTube channel for the Aviators as well. And Mika she's going to be helping Chris and I get this up and running and off the ground as well. It's one of the new ventures we're doing at the OHO podcast as we expand our footprint, just like we have with Miki here at the Illuminutty podcast, just like we have with TG over at the Spectrum podcast. We are going to be dipping our toe in and covering another team beyond Ohio State football, and that would be the Aviators. And so, um, Mika's going to be writing some articles. I've got some articles up already. You can go over to our website, theohiopodcast.com. You'll see the different links at the top of the page. One says the Columbus Aviators. Click on that link. You'll see the articles. And we'll make an announcement when the YouTube channel's up and running. We're working on the logo right now. So that'll be nice. It's hard for me to put our logo with the color blue in it. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah,
But the
I'm not.
Aviators, thankfully, the Aviators are using a very nice aqua, like powder blue,
Yeah,
as well, so that I don't have to put navy in that color. So we're going to go with the red and the light blue and white to for the logo. But we're
I wonder if they did that on purpose to make themselves as different from that the particular navy blue as possible.
well, they've
Because
got they've got navy, and I think it's very similar to what the Blue Jackets have, and so I don't know if they were leaning towards kind of the symbolism of what we have in our other professional franchise, the Columbus Blue Jackets in the NHL. They are playing in the old Crew Stadium, which has yellow seats, and I thought that would be interesting if they would have went with like a yellow and black. But then you got a lot of Cleveland fans who would have hated that because of the Steelers colors. So
Yeah,
um, I. I'm excited to see how it all plays out. The first home game is almost sold out already. So that is really good news. Tickets are not that expensive. They're only about $50 per ticket.
I'd love to go.
So yeah, so in April 18th, I think is the first game. Or no, that's the spring game.
That's the
Um,
day. Yeah, the spring game is the day before my birthday.
yeah, so April 18th is the spring game. The Aviators schedule opens up on a Friday night, uh, April 3rd. So there you go, April 3rd.
That's gonna be interesting, and I just love having like another, another like professional team. Cause even if the Bengals, and if is more like when it comes to the Bengals and the Browns, even if they, you know, crap the bed and everything, you still got like another team to lean on, and that team's got a lot of Buckeye flavor to it. So that always makes me feel good about it, and I'm gonna touch on that a lot in my article. So stay tuned for that. I'm still working on that. I had some internet issues yesterday and didn't get as much done as I hoped, so I'm still working on it, and I'm gonna touch base with Vader as well on it and see if he's got anything to add to it and things like that. But guys, I'm sorry about the audio issues I had during the show. I hope this was a great show for you guys today, and stay tuned. I'm gonna start having more fans and more guests on as this thing grows. I'm hoping to have a very special guest for you next week and for you guys to get to know. I think he's tremendous. I've been talking to him for a little while now, and he knows a lot about football and has been wanting to get into the podcast game for a while now. So I wanted to give him the same chance that was afforded to me and give him an opportunity to kind of get his toes wet and see how he likes it. So please, if we have him on, which I know we will sometime in the near future, whether it be next week or any time, please be kind. And I think you guys are gonna love him. I've really enjoyed talking to him, and he seems like a tremendous guy. So, um, anyway, like I said, I hope you guys enjoyed the show. We covered a little bit of everything today, and like I said, sorry about the audio issues. Hopefully, I can figure out what's going on with that, and that doesn't continue to be a problem because even I was getting annoyed, and it was my voice. So pretty bad when you get annoyed by your own voice, but that's either here nor there. That happens quite a lot to me, whether whether you want to believe it or not, but it does. But anyway, hope you enjoyed the show. Like, share, leave a comment. If you want to come on, please hit me up either on Twitter, DM me, Facebook, whatever. You can get a hold of the OHIO podcast, and if you, I'll give Eric the permission to give out my email if you want to touch base with me about coming on the show. I'd love to have you. That's kind of one of the biggest things I want to do with this show. I want to make it fan friendly, and I want to give you guys a voice to come on and just talk ball and talk, spread spread the love of Buckeye Nation out there and build the fan base and help build not only my channel's community but the OHIO podcast as well, because I really do believe in the community that we're building for the show. And if you haven't yet, please join us over on Patreon. It's a great community. We have a lot of fun. We're all kind of goofy and nerdy, and we play off each other well, and it shows, especially on our super secret shows and Patreon and the asylum shows that we do over there. I mean, things get crazy. You won't believe the large variety of topics that we cover over there. Some some family friendly, some not. So if that's your thing and you want to get to know us a little bit more and see a little bit more of our personalities, join us over there and become part of the nut house is what I'm saying, because that's basically what we are. It's one big family and one big crazy nut house, and we'd love to have you. And please consider buying our merchandise. That's one of the ways you can help us get paid doing this. And I know a lot of work goes into these shows and goes in like the recruiting databases and stuff. So please consider buying merchandise. And Lucia Buck, if you're listening, coffee mugs are in the works. So I know you've been hitting me up about needing an Illuminutty coffee mug. So we're working on it for you guys, and hopefully doing some more product stuff as well in terms of hats and mugs and stuff. So keep your eyes peeled for that. And on that note, thank you guys for joining me today. Thank you, Podfather, for helping me out today. And
Of course.
OH
Hi-ho, go Bucks.
and Scum still sucks.